Hello everyone and welcome back once again to Decisive Campaigns, Blitzkrieg from Warsaw to Paris. We are in, what, probably the final episode for this part of the game. So the second mission will be done after this. I, well, don't want to... get into the mistake of actually not doing anything while I think the mission is over, and then it's not actually over. So I will definitely keep playing as if, you know, there might still be another turn here. I've already started with this turn a little bit in the previous episode, but I do want to wrap things up here. Need to not use singular movement but group movement for these. There we go. Excellent. So I'm currently still trying to do as much damage to the AI as possible during these turns. Also, it will lower the French's national morale. And you're part of the 4th, right? I'll actually send them up. Some other units will deal with this. It would be really great if I could also finish these guys off, but... and that is... I mean, I don't think I can do that here because it's across the river. So I'm much better off crossing now and then trying to deal with them later on. Okay, let's just do this systematically. So I've taken care of this down here. The units down there have moved. I did surround the majority of those guys last turn. Here we are. They actually cannot enter. Which units do you have? Like, for example, the 8th. $25 doesn't seem like much. Maybe it isn't. But Still worthwhile, I think. I would not like them taking something else, so I'm not gonna actually move from Dieppe. But I'll move in there. For the moment. We'll see what happens. I used the flag to take some of those areas since the enemy no longer seems to really put up any air force or any air resistance. Not really. So, all right. So we did that. These guys have been taken care of. So we have the 3rd and 4th Panzer Division. So 4th Panzer, what are you currently up to? The rest of 4th Panzer is down here. So I'll send them down there. Well, I'm not attacking this turn anyway. How about these engineers? And the entirety of 3rd Panzer is over here. This takes a movement of 70. I can be persuaded to attack these guys. I think that will work. Sure. I'll deal with those guys next turn if there is one. So that's that. Then this is also taken care of. I did not yet deal with all of these units, although I did deal with some of them. Yep. That's good. Okay. There we go. That's these. Playing a haste card on the unit that's furthest. There's the 9th Corps up there. Sure. Move them up. You guys are part of the 10th Corps. But I'd actually rather not keep moving with the 10th. And I'll try to deal with this with the 9th. Let's see if we can get some bombers in there. Okay, seems like I already did that. I will actually defeat these with that other corps. That can also assist, I suppose. In trying to deal with these. There we go. How are they doing? What I can do is I can actually get you and then attack. And I do think that'll be okay. Probably. Still 100 loss. Well, too bad. And I might deal with the core later on. No real stress or anything. Although that also got rid of them. And I took another 100 losses, but that's okay. Alright, well, I think besides the cards that I still have, these don't really matter that much for the moment, but let's repair the bridge. Let's start moving the engineers down. Alright. I think that'll be it for this turn again. Enemy turn hopefully again will be quite a bit shorter than the previous one, as it's been for the last couple of times, which is quite nice. I still do not have any infantry down there because I'm still too busy mopping up. Although I guess I do have some corps now, at least at Reims, moving towards Dormont, but that's pretty much the only ones. And then there's still quite a few units that also need to be dealt with after the encirclement. So, you know, then the infantry will be busy with that as well. Anyway, I'll meet you back after the enemy turn, and then we'll see what happened. Beautiful, beautiful. They're even clapping for you. It's a clear weather turn. Yeah, so we got more victory points. Lost our 2%. We got 12 rounds before the deadline. That's great. It's almost 2 weeks. That's nice. So we got 120 PP extra. Average experience growth is 40%. Average morale growth is 50. 0% of BEF troops evacuated. That's great. After the defeat of France, the German army immediately sets out to assemble an invasion fleet to make the cross-channel invasion of England possible. Everything is almost ready. The Kriegsmarine Luftwaffe stand ready, and fleets of cargo barges, converted into improvised troop transports, await in the Channel ports. It is the year 1940, August the 10th, at the Reichschancellery. German High Command is planning Operation Sea Lion. Almost all generals agree that the chances for a successful invasion look very slim. In order to have a chance on success, the generals agree that air superiority should be attained over the naval corridor across the channel for a period of 7 days, instead of the originally stipulated 3 days. Furthermore, the generals agreed that diversionary actions be undertaken in the North Sea and Mediterranean in order to thin out the number of troops and the Royal Navy's home fleet. Dispersing British forces will increase the chance of a successful invasion. You can now play action cards to influence the upcoming battle. The OKW discovers the British are constructing more defenses on our landing beaches than expected. Play the Destroy Coastal Defenses card to counter this variant. Okay, there's a lot here. We will have to play the Destroy the Defenses card, I suppose. We have 199 PP. Launch a massive campaign to destroy or severely damage coastal defenses guarding the British homeland. If you play this card, any coastal defenses will be destroyed or at least more severely damaged by the Luftwaffe prior to this mission. So we'll have to play that. Bombardment of coastal defenses prior to the invasion is scaled up. Then, wow, there's just so many of these. Alright, well, let's see. Air supremacy. Launch a massive Luftwaffe campaign to crush British air power. Play this card to gain air supremacy over England for the duration of Operation Sea Lion. I mean, that's probably pretty good. Let's actually just take a look at how many all of these cost in total. So it's 25, 50, 75, 95, 125, 140, 155. Yeah, I cannot play all of them. Damn it. Okay. Let's see. Earlier invasion. This will mitigate the likelihood of severe or bad weather in the Channel and over Britain. Assassinate Churchill. British morale will drop significantly. Okay. Issue gas masks. If gas attacks are executed and your troops have no gas masks available, they will suffer very heavily. Deter Americans. Play this card to intimidate the United States by diplomatic means and to make sure no American volunteers will be allowed to leave their country in order to help the British. We have propaganda. Discourage British partisan activity. Right, let's just... I mean, this is also 10. Divert Britain. Play this card to execute deception plans that will fool the British into deploying part of their army and reserve divisions in the Mediterranean. Extra fleet. Play this card to get extra transport ships from Vichy, France and Italy. Successful corridor. Playing this card will ensure adequate cover of the naval corridor by both the Luftwaffe and the Kriegsmarine for 7 days instead of 3. Okay, so I guess we'll have to start... I think we'll need at least successful corridor. By heroic feats of organization and improvisation, the Royal Navy will be held off 4 days longer. That's probably very useful. I mean, I do think we will have to play air supremacy. Launch a massive Luftwaffe campaign to crush British air power. The Germans managed to win temporary air superiority over England for the duration of Operation Sea Lion. I just can't see myself winning without that. So we have 89. Then probably getting extra transport ships will be necessary. By diplomacy and sheer force, we have obtained extra transport ships from our vassal states such as Vichy and allies, Italy. 64 left. We'll probably have to launch an earlier invasion too. By landing earlier than originally planned, bad weather is avoided. And then I probably will not have to do any of these, or at least I don't... Like, then we'll have some PP left for the final mission. I think that probably works best, because technically what I could do is I could assassinate Churchill to drop lower British morale, but... At 44... I don't think meteorology will be that useful necessarily. Let's do military intelligence and foreign affairs. And then let's see what it does. So that's okay, well, we don't see anything now. Yeah, let's start here. The plans for Sea Lion have been finalized. German generals dispersed to their embarkation ports, ready to start the most difficult campaign the Wehrmacht ever fought. German fleets have embarked from their French ports. Operation Sea Lion has commenced. British have managed to evacuate 0% of the BEF. Yeah, too bad for them. It's a clear weather turn. Germany has 3 victory points and needs 24 victory points to win. Britain retains control of 40 points. Germany must have captured the necessary victory point hexes by the end of September the 8th. There's no upper limit to German losses. Shipping points have increased with 30 and are now 60 points. Maximum points possible to have is 60. Okay, I don't know what that is either. Is this like defenses or something? Or just like cliffs, I think. It looks like a cliff. We'll probably have a lot of trouble with landing there. Let's see how many points this is. 4, 4, 4, 4. So these shipping points, there's intercept level and shipping points. We can actually go as far as Bournemouth. Okay. For those who also follow my Panzer Corps 2 campaign, basically what happens is during the second mission, basically this is where you're landing. So this is quite south of London. You're basically taking probably something up till here, and then the third mission is invading London. At any rate, let's just get started with the briefing here. The prelude to war. The invasion of England is about to commence. After the successful conquest of France, the German army immediately turned to assembling an invasion fleet. Although the Germans managed to scrape together and convert into makeshift landing craft an enormous fleet of barges, the naval power of the Kriegsmarine is insufficient to guard the corridor in the Channel, through which the cargo ships and barges must travel. Supply and troop transfer will be problematic for the Germans. Seizing a beachhead is one thing, reinforcing it with enough tanks and guns to expand it is quite another. The British army has not recovered yet from the defeat in France and the disorganization that followed the Dunkirk evacuation, which there wasn't. The amount of troops present in England is low. Indifferently armed and still somewhat shaky, a large and aggressive German landing force could defeat them. The Germans must very quickly take their victory locations, because one thing is for certain: the Royal Navy's home fleet will move quickly, probably within 2 to 3 weeks, and will make an all-out effort to cut all German communications with France. If the British succeed in doing this, the invasion forces already landed will be doomed to certain defeat. On the English side of the Dover Straits, the fabled White Cliffs will severely hamper the initial amphibious assault, but only if those coastal hexes are adequately manned. Further inland, the terrain is mostly agricultural, though dotted with small forests and scattered rural towns. Below London, there are 2 rugged and forested areas. In the west towards Wales are some low mountains, and near Southampton there's a large forested area. Defensive preparations are at this time only at an early stage, but some heavier fortifications have already been constructed in a line south and east of London, known as the GHQ line. That was where the British planned to make their major stand and hopefully stop the Germans from advancing further to London. In between the GHQ line and the invasion beaches, the British have hurried constructed some 2,300 concrete pillboxes as temporary stop lines, but at this time they were not connected into a coherent line of fortifications. They did, however, command important road junctions and river crossings, and were especially intended to disrupt and inflict heavy casualties on German airborne landings. To be able to keep sea superiority in the corridor for an adequate number of days, almost all Luftwaffe aircraft have to be deployed to help fight off the Royal Navy. This means the invasion armies will have limited sporadic air support. Germany has 16 infantry divisions, 4 panzer divisions and 2 motorized divisions ready for landing on the English coast. This is a serious invasion force, but it faces 2 major problems. First, the initial landing wave will come shore without heavy weapons, especially artillery. Shipping resources for such heavy equipment are scarce. Those weapons must be shipped separately if they are to be shipped at all. Secondly, the scarcity of transports. Third, and for the same reason, only a limited number of divisions can be transshipped from France in any given turn. Only a limited number of divisions can make the crossing each turn because of the limited shipping available. Perhaps the most serious problem in the long term is that the Germans lack the capability to make strategic transfers to England from other fronts where they are stronger. The Germans get supply from the continent at the rate of 6,000 supply points per turn. If the extra transport fleet variant is active, which I did, the total rises to 9,000 supply points. These supply points represent the Germans' naval ability to actually get the supplies over the Channel. The axes start with 30 pp and get 1 pp per turn. Opposing forces of the British. The British army has managed to re-equip only a tiny part of the divisions evacuated from France. It is very low on tanks and AT guns, but has plenty of artillery and AA guns available. Furthermore, the British have raised a militia-like force known as the Home Guard. Although the Home Guard has been portrayed in many movies as something as a joke, overaged, pot-belly amateurs, in reality it was a significant resource. Although many of its men were middle-aged, a large number were Great War veterans. They knew the basics of soldiering, understood the value of discipline, and were motivated by fierce patriotism. These troops are perfect for delaying actions and buying time for the first-rate army units to form up and organize counteroffensives against the invader. Furthermore, 5 infantry divisions and 1 armored division in the British order of battle are still fresh and ready for combat. After it becomes clear that the invasion will be limited to England, further divisions from Wales, Scotland and Ireland will be released, around 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10. British get 5,000 supply from Cheltenham and 2,500 supply from London. The British start with 0 PP and get 2 PP per turn. Germany must capture 24 victory point locations on or before the end of September the 20th. After this date has passed, the deteriorating German supply situation is presumed to have doomed the Germans. It is important to realize that victory or defeat is solely determined by conquering or holding the needed victory points. Losses only determine the measure of victory. Variants: beach defense. If active, any British troops defending against an amphibious assault will fight with double their power. Variant 2. There is a 10% chance that a German-occupied hex in Britain will lose 400 supply points from partisan action and sabotage. Furthermore, there is a 0.25% chance per occupied hex that a British guerrilla unit will appear. Variant 3. US volunteers. From round 10 onwards, there's a 50% chance per turn that American volunteers will arrive in Cheltenham, which is up there. 4. Gas attacks. Every turn, the British may execute a poison gas attack on a hex of their choice. This is historically accurate. Churchill had already authorized such action. These missions are considered to be performed by Bomber Command, operating from Scotland airfields. If playing campaign mode, the Germans could have prepared for these attacks, lowering their effectiveness. 5. For King and Country, gives Britain 20% higher morale and a 10% chance per turn per major town to get an extra Home Guard brigade. 6. Bad weather. Normally there's 25% chance on rain. With this variant active, the chance of foul weather rises to 40 and the chance of a severe channel storm rises to 10%. If there is such a storm, the Germans will be forced to suspend cross-channel shipping of supplies and reinforcements until the weather moderates. 7. Successful corridor. In this variant is active, the Germans' cross-channel corridor will be secure for the first 7 days instead of 3. Variant 8. Britain diverted. The whole 12th Corps, 2nd Canadian Division, 5th Flak Division and some artillery assets will be absent, presumable because of Axis diversionary actions in other theaters. There is also only 50% chance for Britain that each of the 5 scheduled reinforcement divisions will arrive. 9. Extra fleet. The Germans get extra shipping points, 30 instead of 20. Because this scenario has hexes representing a smaller area and speed has been reduced from 2 days per round to 1 day per round. Some small changes have been made to reflect this. Compared to the Poland scenario, the following change: stacking limits have been decreased by 1/3, air range has been doubled, zone of control range has been doubled, although 2 axes away is only 10% of what it was 1 x away. Entrenchment speed is halved as our initial entrenchment levels after moving into a hex. Morale recovery speed is halved. Readiness recovery is max 20 instead of max 30. Normally there's a 25% on a rain turn. If the bad weather variant, it's 40 and 10% chance on storm. Morale loss. The British lose 1 base morale for every victory point that they lose. This is not a severe handicap because British base morale starts at 100, but it can have an effect over time. Here we are, because some of these are pretty important. This intercept level. The intercept level represents the amount of ships and aircraft the British can manage to effectively use on the German transport and supply fleets. Normally starts at 10. With German air superiority variant in effect, it starts at 5. After the corridor is breached on turn 4 or 8, depending on whether or not the successful corridor variant is active, so it starts at turn 8, the intercept level will grow with 3 or 5 per turn. If Germany is played by the AI, the intercept level is kept at 50. At 50, about only half of the supplies should be coming through. Okay, so it has to do with supplies coming through. Great. The eventual cutting off of your supplies is the reason the Germans must take their victory points in 20 days. After this, the supply situation becomes so desperate, the Germans can be considered to have lost. If the Germans are played by the AI, they suffer a little bit less from British intercept levels. The British will get the 51st, 53rd, 38th, 54th, and 59th Infantry Divisions as reinforcements in Cheltenham on respectively round 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. The divisions are released from Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland as it becomes clear the invasion is limited to England. Shipping points. Shipping points available here determines how many German corps you can ship to England. Normal start points is 40, grows with 20 a turn, and can grow to max 40. If the bad weather variant is active, you get half growth. If there are storm conditions, there is no option to transfer, and you lose all shipping points. If the extra variant is active, then growth is 30 a day at the start, with a maximum of 60. The Germans can deploy 2 paratrooper divisions, but only 1 per turn. British extra reinforcements. The British player can use cards to buy M2A4 tanks from the US or to get extra infantry divisions. Landing. If not landing at a friendly port, your troops get a 50% penalty in action points and readiness. The game was started with the following variants configuration. They have gas attacks. Fair enough. And then of course they also had this better coastal defense, but we negated that. So yeah, like I said, you don't know which of these variants they might play, so yeah, that's fine. The thing also is that some of these are for free, but if I, for example, were to want to deploy the 29th Corps under Heinz Guderian, consisting of the 1st and 2nd Panzer Divisions, you know, I would have to play that for 20 points, for example. Yeah, these are free, sure, but you know, and this is 10 points as well. I can deploy some of these. Indeed, it does cost a lot of shipping points. For example, wait, this is 40. Well, anyway, we might need those points yet anyway for later on. So we'll see how that goes. Either way, I am going to invade Britain in the next episode. For now, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, or help me out on Patreon for more videos each week. Special shout out to my Patreon supporters: Pumna Rao, Dungeon Pastor, Thomas Off Trin, Thomas B. Marshall, C Data, and Swords. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.